Good evening to you all. First and foremost, I want to thank all who are watching, everybody that's part of the Halftime Podcast community. As always, you know how we like to start it off by saying peace, blessings, and prosperity to you all that's part of the Halftime community. Coach, it's Friday.
It is.
We're going live yet again. I wonder if we're going to make this a thing. Our schedules are creating situations now where, you know, in order to get things done, we just got to come in on a Friday and go straight live like we're a ESPN broadcast. And it's okay, because eventually we'll get to that point in our time with the Halftime Podcast where we will be live, and that's how it's going to be. So this is all good fun and fair in practice. But how was your week, Coach?
Yeah, week was it was fun, but tiring as well. You know, these kids been kicking my butt in school, so it's been fun though no complaints.
Yeah. What episode is this, Coach?
Episode 47? 6.
Look at you.
Oh no!
It's episode 47, Coach.
I knew it. I was testing your knowledge.
Whatever, testing my knowledge, my ass. See, and then you call me the old one. Looks like you're the one already forgetting stuff in here. How old are you, Coach? 22?
That's wrong.
Man.
The world may never know.
Yeah, he's about 57.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, black don't crack, so I'm really like 18. But anyway, Coach, I'm glad you had a good week.
How about you, Coach?
It's been a serviceable week for myself. Kind of been busy with, you know, some physical therapy and stuff like that. Trying to recover from this bus accident that I had at work. So things are getting better.
Good.
So
Yeah,
that's definitely something that I'm happy about. But no matter what we're going through sick, through injury, obviously, the pod must go on because we love the Halftime Podcast community and we have to give them the best sports coverage on all digital platforms. Now today, Coach, we're just going to kind of pot it out. We're going to talk. There'll be no give and go. There'll be no who's cooking and who should be out the kitchen. We're just going to get right into what we like to call the halftime conversations.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach, right on top of our, you know, docket for today, we saw Caleb Williams in his, I guess, preseason debut against the Buffalo Bills in week 2. The Bears play today. And they're probably, as we speak, are about
to start in 10 minutes. Yeah,
yeah, they're probably going to start while we're potting. But week 2, his preseason debut, he went 6 for 10, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Looked very good on that first drive. The second drive wasn't necessarily so sexy, but you know, you got to see some of what you wanted to see. In comparison to what you saw last season, Caleb was able to get the ball out quickly. More importantly, he had time in the pocket. That offensive line looked rather good. Now, are the Buffalo Bills going to have a top 5 defense in the NFL this year? Maybe not. Have we been practicing against the Buffalo Bills prior to that preseason game? Yes. So, there are some things, some caveats to it that kind of make you go, okay, let's not go overboard, but let's also examine what we saw as good play, right? They could have came out there and really got embarrassed and really looked really bad, but they didn't. The offensive line, like I said, looked really good. Caleb looked pretty good, especially on that first drive. Our wide receiver core looks really good. Even the guys that are backing up, you know, DJ and Rome, you got Loser Burton and you got Tyler Scott with Tyson Bagent. They look really good with him.
They did.
They look very, very good. Loveland looks like a great pickup.
Absolutely, yeah.
And although many people were kind of wondering why we went that direction, now we understand why. We get why Loveland was that pick. And it was really good to see the balance on offense on display. Now, I do believe Ben Johnson is going to be a more pass-heavy head coach and play caller.
Sure.
That was obvious.
Yeah.
We will need the run game support to set up the play action. So I think the way it looks like it's designed, our runs have to be impactful and effective. we're not going to be one of those running teams that just are like, okay, we're comfortable with first down 2 yards, second down 3 yards. Like, we're not going to be trying to set up a 3rd and 5 every single time we're out there on the field. And so when we do decide to run the ball, I'm assuming it'll be based upon softening the defense with the pass, being able to get those guys out of that box, so that way it allows the running backs to get a little bit more, leeway, be able to hit a hole. Maybe some of our offensive linemen can get to the second level, things like that. But it'll be coming off of the ability and the threat of the passing game. So it was a lot. Caleb looked good. Like I said, we can rehash it all day. But I just want to see, how did you feel about his debut? How did you feel about how the Bears looked? And obviously we're not watching the game today, but when we get home, we'll probably be able to see some highlights or whatever, rewatch the game, depending on who our provider is. What are you interested in seeing against the Chiefs today? And on top of that, how did you feel about what you saw in week 2 against the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I'll start off with week 2. I was honestly surprised with the amount of passes that were thrown.
Yeah.
Maybe not over the course of the 2 drives, but definitely on the first one.
Yeah.
I think we ran the ball maybe twice and passed it about 6 times.
Yeah.
So, that was interesting to see. And first play coming out, we had that whole kickoff scuffle with the Tyler Scott, who put us on the 3-yard line. It was like Velus Jones Jr. all over again. But
we ran a bootleg right out.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
Out the gate.
Right out of 12 personnel, we motioned Loveland to the weak side, and then he came right across with that drag boost slide concept and got an easy completion. And I think that's the difference, what we're seeing with this Ben Johnson offense versus what we saw with the Shane Waldron or even the Thomas Brown offense, is that early downs, we're seeing easy completions that are going to pick you up solid yards, so that 2nd and 3rd down isn't 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. It's going to be 2nd or 3rd and 5, 4, something like that. It's manageable. But yeah, to your point, definitely with that play action type of heavy offense that we know Ben Johnson to be, of course, we need the run game to excel.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for in this week 3 matchups with the Chiefs. I want to see us run the ball. I want to see if we could actually be effective against a solid run defense, which are the Chiefs, which they are playing all of their starters today.
Yeah. I don't know how long they're supposed to be playing, though.
They might play a drive or 2. Defense might go on for a little bit longer. Who knows?
I really wish they were doing a whole half.
It would have been nice if it's a whole half, but at most we'll probably see a quarter, if that.
Yeah.
But against such a solid team that the Chiefs are, Super Bowl proven, all this stuff, and they've retained a lot of their players as well. I'm interested to see, can we run the ball against them? Can we pass the ball against them? And also, is DeAndre Swift going to play? Because he didn't play in week 2. We got the rookie running back. It wasn't even Monangai because he's hurt. Roshan Johnson is hurt. It was our 4th string running back, which he honestly did pretty well. And then Ian Wheeler came in obviously later and did his thing too. But I'm interested to see. Hopefully,
to be honest
could
with
play
you,
today.
I had no idea that our running back room was that packed.
Yeah, no, it's an insane amount of running backs, and I'm sure a couple of them will get cut by the beginning of the season. So I'm intrigued to see who it is, because honestly, all of those lower string guys have been balling out, and honestly, it's an encouraging sign to see. It's you want that competition because it brings the best out of everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what the run game could do in this week 3 matchup. I think we did see it a lot in week 2 against the Bills, but we saw it with the second group.
Yeah, the second.
I want to see that with the first group today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I'm interested in. Just trying to see in this week 3 matchup, going against a team, a Super Bowl contending team, a Super Bowl vision team. That's what they're envisioning themselves being able to do and get accomplished. I want to see how we match up against them, and I hope that it's for more than at least give me a full quarter.
Yeah,
maybe not a full half. Okay, I can understand why you may not want to do a full half, but at least give me a full 1 quarter of being able to see the starters of the Bears versus the starters of the Chiefs, so that way you can really get an idea of where you are. You can get a real gauge, a real barometer of where are we when it comes down to matching up against teams that we know are probably going to be there come January and come February. So that'll be interesting to see, but I'm looking forward to that. But so far, so good for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I do want to say one more thing, kind of going back to one of your points. I thought Pass Pro was great last week. I'm intrigued to see how it goes this week, considering it is a way better pass rush with Chris Jones down the middle and George Karlaftis. I forget how to say his last name, but it's a good D line. So, but kudos to them last week. They looked phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're all able to anchor down. Even Braxton Jones, of course, he was with the first group last week, and I expect him to be this week as well.
It seems like
he showed a much more improved anchor, so that was encouraging to see. And of course, that interior looked great.
The interior looked good.
Even though Joe Tooney didn't even play, we had Luke Newman, a 6th-round rookie, playing at the left guard position, and he gave us really good snaps. Like, when I told you a couple of weeks ago when free agency was kind of still going on and we were going into training camp, like, I am still and I was impressed with the amount of depth that is on this offensive line. Like, I think it really, of course, you have offensive lines that are top heavy, and some could argue that this line is more top heavy, but I don't see that at all. Like, we've got our right tackle, Theo Benedict, who, you know, last year was, you know, the main sensation on Hard Knocks with him being the Canadian Wildcat and ripping off his pants and having like star underwear and stuff. He came out and put on an absolute great performance. Ben Johnson has even come out and said, like, he's given Braxton Jones a real run for his money.
Darnell Wright?
No, they had him playing on the left side. But I'm pretty sure his true position is the right tackle position, but they had him playing on the left. And I think he was our highest graded O-lineman week 2. So he's been making strides in training camp. That's probably the one position that concerns me the most, and I think we'll see more of that today, is how consistent can we be at the left tackle position? Because we've seen the flaws with Braxton. We saw a couple of mishaps even in last week and throughout training camp. Theo Benedict has made a run for that starting position. Of course, the rookie Ozzie has been a conversation, but they've honestly, from what it seems, they've pivoted him back over to his true position at the right tackle, and it seems like he's just going to be a swing tackle now and not really fighting for that left tackle.
He's just a
position.
backup for any tackle.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like. Any tackle that goes down, he's pretty much going to be inserted wherever he is needed. Basically, is what it seems like.
Yeah. Along with that, just to finish it off before we move on, like, with the improved pass pro and, you know, with the core group of guys that we brought in and we already have. Yes, Caleb was trusting the line more. I need to see even more from him, though. Like, some of the footwork at times was sloppy because I think he reverted back to some of his fear from last year of be able to be ready to run and playing under pressure. And I did see a little bit of that in some of his dropbacks in week 2, which led to a couple of inaccurate balls. But when he really trusted that line and got his feet set,
it was on the mark.
Yeah,
it was on the mark. I'll give it to him. The throws that he made that were successful looked really good, and then obviously the ones that didn't looked kind of terrible.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We still have yet to do our season prediction and how we feel like the Bears are going to do, but we'll wait till after tonight's game and then
next episode
kind of look at everything, and then we'll get into what we feel like our Chicago Bears will do this season. All right, Coach, let's move into our next topic. The next topic on the halftime conversations. Let's talk about how newly acquired quarterback Aaron Rodgers is now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he is not playing in the preseason. Now, this is obviously a choice from the head coach, Mike Tomlin, which I don't know if you're just saying because he's a veteran quarterback, you don't necessarily have to play him in preseason. You trust what you're seeing in practices and in training camp. You trust that he's a veteran and that he'll be ready. All those things could be very, very fair. But it's a new team. He's in a new place. I personally think you need to see some real-time reps, some game-time reps from Aaron in order to really know exactly what this can really look like. And I think I think this is one of the first times that I'm actually not a fan of what Mike Tomlin is doing as a head coach. Some people might disagree. Some people might say it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, who cares? He doesn't need to play preseason. But it'd be different if he was still in Green Bay. Hell, if he was still with the New York Jets,
yeah,
I would feel, whatever. He's been there. He knows the system, blah, 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 blah. But it's a new place, new territory, new system, new coach, new everything. What is one rep? I mean, we haven't seen him go out there and do a drive in preseason. So it's like, I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't like it. I feel like the Steelers fans should be a little like, okay, when are we going to see this guy? I know we're really just waiting until week 1 of the regular season. And what if he goes out there and he's rusty? He goes out there and it doesn't look good. And he goes out there and he's missing easy throws and stuff like that. Then the conversation is going to be, well, that's what preseason is for. And so I think these are some of the things that I'm worried about and concerned about and not a fan of when it comes down to Mike Tomlin making this decision. But I want to get your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers not playing in the preseason. Is it a big deal or no deal?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I think you could view it as a big deal. I think important points that you made, I definitely agree with. Like, if the guy was still in Green Bay or in New York, like, it would make sense not to play him a snap. You know what I mean? Considering he's 40 years of age and definitely on his last legs in the NFL. You wouldn't want him to get hurt, considering that this is the 1 year you're gonna have him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, you also brought in a boatload of new weapons, right? You brought in a couple of additions on the offensive line as well.
Yeah, DK Metcalf.
Yeah, and a new quarterback under center. So, like, I think that connection is way different when you're going live period in training camp and when you're going just 7-on-7s or even 11-on-11s against when they have their team versus team training camps versus actually being there on game day in the stadium. You know, you've got all the different weather conditions that go on during games and actually getting a group of 4, you know, grown, massive D linemen trying to get you. You know what I mean? Like, it's a completely different ball game. And me personally, if I was a Steelers fan, I'd definitely be knocking on the door on Mike Tomlin's office and being like, why isn't he playing? He should at least be playing a drive or two to at least acclimate into the offense and also establish more of a connection with the receivers and get some in-game reps with them.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't start well, the first assumption is going to be, well, he never played in preseason. He never developed chemistry. They thought the chemistry in training camp was going to transfer over into the regular season, but it's like you can't just assume that. You can't just believe that whatever you're seeing in training camp in this controlled environment that is trying to make sure that the quarterback is safe. We're going to make sure that we don't hit him that hard. And not saying that guys aren't competing, but it's different. You know, we know each other. Nobody is really trying to hurt anybody. Nobody's really trying to, like, you know, hit somebody, you know, all the way to the Gatorade bottles. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's trying to do any of that in training camp amongst each other. Exactly. Unless you're talking about guys who are third string playing against second string. Now, they may be a little bit more competitive, but those first string guys, when they're matching up against each other, they're not really trying to go out there and hurt one another or do anything crazy because they have solidified spots. And the worst thing that can happen to any of them is just getting hurt. Because that's how their whole season could change for them. So for me, it's just like, again, I'm just going back to the theory of you're just assuming that he's a veteran and that he's Aaron freaking Rodgers. And those two things combined is helping you make a decision to say, we don't need to see him in preseason because we know what Aaron Rodgers just brings to the table. But I think that's fool's gold. It's fool's gold. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm shocked that Mike Tomlin is doing this. I mean, they played Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, they played a lot of their starters on the defense.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note when talking about Aaron Rodgers not starting is look around the league. I believe at this point, every single franchise's starting quarterback
has at least played one drive, you know, or drive like or two or something.
Even Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean? I'm not sure about Josh Allen. I think maybe this week he's getting some reps because I know last week he didn't. But like even Mahomes this week, week 3, he's playing tonight, you know, against the Bears. So I don't know. It's questioning decision-making on my end, which I haven't really seen from Mike Tomlin. But maybe he's just being extra cautious considering, you know, he has brought in an old man's retirement home to Pittsburgh as far as the roster goes. So maybe that's the worry, and really they just want everybody going into week 1 at 100%.
Yeah,
with
maybe
no wear and tear.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe the last thing he wants is Aaron Rodgers goes into a preseason game and gets hurt.
Like, of course it was week 1 when he was on the Jets when he got hurt,
And his
but
season was over with.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So they had to wait a whole year to actually see what he could bring to the franchise.
I guess that would be the last thing you would want because that probably means you'll get fired.
Maybe.
Like if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in the preseason and he's out for the season.
Crazy.
That would be insane. That would be terrible. That would be crazy. It would be like, the worst luck for Aaron. But it would also mean potentially some heads, being chopped off in Pittsburgh because you would have to think about it from this perspective of you had Justin Fields in the building and you could have re-signed him. And according to reports about how he went to the Jets, the real reason why he didn't return back to Pittsburgh is because he kind of felt like they gave up on him so soon for Russell Wilson when he wasn't doing bad and their season was going pretty good. I think at the time he got taken out of the spot for Russell, he was going 4-2. I think that was the record. So because of how he was maneuvered out of his starting role with Pittsburgh, it kind of left a sour taste in his mouth, and that's why he ended up going to the Jets. Not to mention the fact that he's over there with Garrett Wilson, somebody that he played with in college, and it would be a fresh start for him and a head coach that would come in ready to give him a clean slate of evaluation. So there's a lot of positives for that. But just thinking about it, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, that means you moved on from Justin Fields, you moved on from Russell Wilson, and you put all your eggs in a basket for a guy that you play in preseason and he gets hurt. So I can understand it. I can understand that viewpoint. I think that's a very scary way to be, and I think you can't win in life being that fearful. And so obviously in the game of football, this is a sport where this ain't about, for lack of better words, this ain't about being, scary or pussy. This is about showing up ready to do what you got to do. Hard-nosed football. This is grown man business. So if you're scared, this ain't the sport for you. Go play, I don't know, chess or something. Do something else.
Yeah.
But this ain't the sport for that. So it surprises me, but I can see all the angles of why you might not do it. But I think the reps are necessary, just in closing of how I feel about that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yep. All right, we want to remind everybody to please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Halftime Pod. On YouTube, we see that you guys are liking our videos, you're commenting on things. You're even sharing a lot of the stuff. I see that too, but we just need you to translate that over to hitting that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell. So that way you are alerted of everything that we are doing at the Halftime Podcast, and you can become part of this wonderful community where you get to speak to us, you get to talk to us, you get to communicate with us, you get first-hand looks at anything that we're doing, and you get access to our Patreon as well. Once we know that you have subscribed to us, we can send out emails and notifications to you about what we are doing, Patreons, or any exclusive material that we have coming. As well, we want to remind you guys to follow our individual Instagram accounts. You can follow Coach Conrad at Coach KDZ, and you can follow me, Coach Malcolm, at Coach M_Got It. Again, you can follow Coach Conrad at Coach KDZ, and you can follow me at Coach M_Got It, and that's how you can reach out to us for any conversations that you want to talk about regarding any topics on the show, artwork that you want to put on the backdrop, or if you just want to communicate with us about anything as far as getting training for your young athletes, or if you want to talk about AAU because Coach has his own club for all ages and groups. Anything you want to add to that, Coach?
No, man, you do it spot on every week. I got nothing to add, Coach.
All right, you ready to move on to our next topic?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about this NBA draft class of 2010 and John Wall, who has now retired from the National Basketball Association. And this comes after a year from Derrick Rose officially retiring. And we all know about the great wars that John Wall and Derrick Rose had, some of the best entertaining basketball from a point guard position between those two. And then you mix in Russell Westbrook as well. Those three highlighted probably one of the most dynamic point guard eras of all time in the NBA. Those three players, John Wall, Derrick Rose, and Russell Westbrook. And it's kind of bittersweet to talk about John Wall as far as his impact on the game, because when he left, it felt like he was kind of on top of the mountain. Like he was at the top of the mountain with other NBA stars and things like that. But then he got hurt, and it just seemed like he was never able to recover back. Washington, everybody was, upset about how his contract was with Washington was so enormous, but he couldn't play. He was always under rehab, and it just kind of started to get sour. And then it got to a point where Washington was just trying to move him for peanuts. And then when they finally were able to move off of him, he essentially had to step away from the game just to kind of rehab and get his body back healthy. And then upon his return back to the NBA, it just seemed like he never really got that chance to reinvigorate who he was before the injury and how he was when he was at Washington. So I'm not saying he left out on a bad note, but it feels like he kind of left out, like if we were grading this like in school, he left out with like an incomplete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like he just left some things unfulfilled.
He dropped the course.
Yeah, it's kind of like dropping a course. But I won't say it's like he dropped the course. It's more so like the teacher just kind of told him like, this class may not be suited for you, type of thing. Like when those professors have one of those conversations with you, like you should probably drop this class before you get an F.
I haven't had that.
Well, I'm just saying, like in college, they'll do that. They'll have conversations with you and tell you like ahead of time, like it's not looking too good for you. You should probably just drop this before you get an F, and now you have this on your transcript, type thing. And so what I'm saying is, it's just like with John Wall, that's how it just feels. It just feels like it's a career that had its peak but didn't peak. You know what I mean? Like it never really got to the clip in which it should have gotten to, or that it could have gotten to. Maybe I shouldn't say should, because I don't know, but I feel like it could have gotten to a different portion. Great years in Washington, great battles with Derrick Rose, great battles with Russell Westbrook. And now this leaves Paul George as the only player from the 2010 draft class to still be active in the NBA. And I would have never guessed that George. I was going to say somebody else's name. I would have never guessed that Paul George would be the only guy left from that 2010 draft class. But boy, I wish he was retiring too.
Yeah.
Because he has been a complete dud for the last 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. Because he's been on and off injured, sometimes playing, sometimes not. Went from playoff P to tragic P. It's just, he's on his way out too. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years we're talking about how Paul George is the last of the 2010 class. And unlike Derrick Rose and probably like John Wall, who might get a jersey retirement in Washington, maybe, I don't think anybody's retiring Paul George number.
But yeah, probably not. I mean, the only conversation you might be able to have is Indiana,
maybe Indiana.
But at the same time, I don't think he did enough during his tenure there to warrant.
I mean, technically, Halliburton has done more than Paul George.
He absolutely has. So there's no argument
in
there.
less time. But what are your thoughts on John Wall retiring and, the 2010 draft class and the relationships that the games that you got to see between him and Derrick Rose, and the fact that Paul George is the last of the 2010 class?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I watched John Wall, I mean, it was just electrifying from whenever he stepped foot on that court, even in his days back in Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, there's been one very viral game going around when Kentucky matched up with when Joe Mazzulla was playing in college, and John Wall was giving him the work all game.
Well, I mean, who would be surprised at that though?
Still, like, I think it's crazy because like I think people forget how good John Wall was.
That's why I'm saying
my guy had a whole song about himself and it went viral. Like, still one of the catchiest tunes. Like,
but that's why I'm saying like the whole incomplete.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, he was starting to get there.
Yeah,
and then it just it's like when the heart rate flatlines. It's just it kind of just stayed there. It never dropped.
Yeah,
it just kind of stayed there.
Yeah,
it was just a nice flat line, but. Yeah, the duo that him and Bradley Beal had going in Washington was really something special, and of course brought Washington a couple of playoff wins during
Yeah,
that time. So like,
yeah,
I'm sure Washington fans are hungry for something like that to occur. When that's gonna happen for you guys, I'm not too sure, but maybe in the near future. They have some, they've put together some veteran talent. Lord knows if they can stay healthy, but they also do have some youth like Bilal Koulibaly and Alex Sarr and those type of guys that are going to make an impact very soon here.
yeah,
So maybe playoff days are ahead for them. Don't think it's now, but just to bring it back to John Wall, like watching him go up against Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook, like those were your primetime games in the
yeah.
2010s. And man, I miss it so much because now some of our primetime games, they end up being primetime games, and then the superstars just sit out, and then
Yeah.
it gets moved. But
I will say
yeah.
to add on to that, I think John Wall, that 2010 class may be one of the last classes for the NBA that still kind of lives by the credences of like, rain, sleet, hell, or snow. If I'm able to go, I'm going to get on the floor. 'Cause
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot of those guys probably are on the tail end of having that type of personality, that type of thought process when it comes down to I'm gonna play. If I
Yeah.
can play, I'm gonna play. And so now that you're speaking about that, it's kind of like it's almost like with that class and them leaving the NBA, it's like a culture is gone now. It's like that's the last of that culture that permeated the NBA of where guys kind of held on to the teachings of the Jordans, the teachings of the Isaiah Thomases, the teachings of the Larry Birds, the Magic Johnsons, and the guys before them. Because now these new classes that have been coming in, they are the followers of the LeBrons. They are the followers of the KDs. They are the followers of the Stephen Currys. And it looks different.
It does. It looks way different.
It looks different. These boys, if they got a hangnail, if the toenail is bothering them too much, if they fingernails ain't feeling too good, if they got a little slight cut on the eye, they're not playing. You know what I'm saying? It's I don't know, man. It's different.
From being
it's
sore,
different.
they don't play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but like even going on that, like, yeah, you can say like they still had that old mentality and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is true. But at the same time, like they made it personal. Like when they would play each other, like they were going for each other's heads every single possession. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We don't really see that anymore, and it kind of sucks because you get your Jokic versus Embiid battles, and yeah, we've had a couple of them maybe,
but you don't get them too often.
No, we don't get it as often
Yeah.
as we once did. Right when John Wall was running the league with Derrick Rose and Russ, you know what I mean? When those guys played, man,
They made it a business,
it was gonna be a good matchup, and of course at the end of the day they're cool, but during that game, no, we're not cool. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in today's game we just see a lot of camaraderie during the game.
It's
and
AAU
it's not,
pickup.
Yeah, seriously, it's not like, all right, I'm gonna go at your head, I'm gonna give you 50. Like there's really none of that.
It's the NBA open runs.
A certain point,
that's
you can
what
argue
that's
that.
what it has become. It's the NBA open runs. It's not AAU open runs, but it's the NBA open runs. Is what it feels like. These guys are just going up and down the court. Elite athletes getting cardio.
Yeah. Now I do want to mention, I believe John Wall. Actually, I know John Wall. He joined the broadcast team. Is it at Amazon? Like I know they're doing prime games for the NBA now.
I think it might be Amazon because I'm sure NBC. I'm sure it's not NBC because NBC has a lot of Jordan brand guys because Jordan is over there. So a lot of the people that's with NBC are part of the whole Jordan brand family. A lot of them are. So I believe if he is with anybody, it would be Amazon. I'm sure it's not with ESPN because ESPN has they have all like the big dogs, the Shaqs, Charles, Kenny, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
They got those guys.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's gonna be. I like the direction that the NBA broadcasting is going though.
Former players,
they're adding a lot of former players, and of course we had it with the inside the NBA, the TNT show. But now we're getting Jordan back on some exclusive content. Like we're getting John Wall into this stuff, and one guy that probably should have never been brought back is Kendrick Perkins. But like that's a different conversation we could have at a different time.
Yeah,
but it's nice to see. It's nice to see.
Absolutely. Well, we're not a fan of the Wizards, but we are a fan of the Chicago Bulls. So let's move into talking about them a little bit. And we don't have to hold too long on this one, but I did want to highlight the fact that I still appreciate that the Bulls are playing hardball with Josh Giddey. Now, there are some contract rumors that somewhere between $94 million to $96 million over 4 years is what they're willing to give Josh Giddey, is the latest rumor. The older rumor was that they were pinned on saying $20 million per year. This contract puts him basically a little bit below $25 million a year, which I'm perfectly fine with. You know what I mean? Like, my whole thing was just like, as long as we're not paying this guy $30 million or more, take that back. As long as you guys weren't paying him $26 million or more, I was satisfied with. $25 million is right in the middle, so whatever. If you got to come to a compromise, you can't get mad. But hearing what they're trying to do and where the Bulls are staying firm, I like it. I know there are some fans who are like, this is BS. The Bulls should be trying to give Josh Giddey what he's asking for. Where else are you going to find and here's the crazy part, where are you going to find a 14 point per game, 7 assists, 8 rebounds guy again? I don't know. In the next draft.
Yeah, they come around like every year.
They come around. So it's just like hearing like Bulls fans be so giddy about Giddey is hilarious to me, because they make it seem like not paying him his $30 million a year is going to be one of the greatest mistakes in Bulls history. And it's like, so fucking over Jordan and making Derrick Rose come back early from injury, and then telling Jimmy Butler we don't know how to build the team around you, while also firing his coach, and then also simultaneously getting a young Zach LaVine, trying to trade him twice, signing him to a max, and then wanting to trade him as soon as he signs the max, and then pairing him up with one of the worst outside shooters in NBA history and DeMar DeRozan. Those aren't some of the worst things in NBA franchise history, but not paying Josh Giddey would be the worst thing that the Bulls could ever do. That just tells me that we are at a place of desperation as a fan base that I never thought I would be a part of. Now, I'm not a part of it because I don't want to pay this kid that type of money. But I'm a part of it because I'm a Bulls fan. And seeing people be so adamant and outraged about the Bulls playing hardball with this guy, it just lets me know that we are desperate. All caps. All caps in how you spell it. We are desperate. To think that this kid, and nothing against Josh Giddey, but to think that he is going to be, I don't know, Scottie Pippen 2.0 or the next coming of, I can't say Jordan, but the next coming of some Magic Johnson. You know what I mean? He's Australian Magic Johnson or something. Like, I don't know what people think Josh Giddey is going to materialize into being. I think what we saw from Josh Giddey last season towards the end of the year, I'm not saying it's an anomaly, but what I am saying is he's not going to be able to duplicate what he did at that clip. Now, he'll get around it. There's a baseline that I think Josh Giddey can hit. I think the best thing that you could get from Josh Giddey is at his max is probably like 16, 8, and 8.
Okay.
That's what I think a great average for Josh Giddey will be in his career. 16, 8, and 8. Is that worth $30 million a year?
I don't think so, you know? Like, I think the amount that they're trying to pay him is the right amount. Like, I agree with you. Like, right now, and it's crazy for me to say this, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm, like, really happy with how the Bulls are handling this situation. And yeah. I feel like I haven't said that in a while.
We haven't said that about them at all.
Yeah, and besides this, there's, like, no other plus in this offseason.
No.
So, like, this, us playing hardball on re-signing a guy being the most encouraging thing that's happened this offseason
is also sad.
Yeah, like, it really does show, like, us Bulls fans, we're hungry. Like, we're clinging on to anything at this point to try and have some happiness and some optimism going into the next season. Like, yeah I'm with you. Like, I am not at all saying I wasn't a fan of how Josh Giddey played towards the latter half of the season, but, like, my only concern again is, like, pay the kid $30 million. you want him to play. Like, what if you get a similar production that we got before All-Star break, and you're paying him $30 million now?
Now it looks like another Patrick Williams contract, but twice as bad.
Exactly. So that's my only concern with it. Like, yeah, we saw encouraging development throughout the season and
But it
him
wasn't
finishing
consistent.
off
And
at a
that was-
decent note.
yeah,
But
yeah.
regardless, like, how consistent can it be? Like, we're still talking about Kobe White 5 years later, talking about his consistency.
Yes.
I think that's a big eye opener. And here we are, with his contract extension coming up soon, saying that he might be close to $40 million a year, and we're still questioning his consistency. I'm going to leave it at that.
And this
man.
is the same fan base that says Zach shouldn't get paid. And this dude was damn near averaging a 50, 40, 90. But
I don't know. It's just, this is Chicago fandom at its finest. Like,
Yeah.
What's going on with the Bulls, what's going on with the Bears, and all other sports,
Yeah.
like especially Cubs fans right now. Ooh, man! Like,
well,
if you were-
they're like, they went from being one of the most jovial fan bases at the beginning of this year, thinking that they had a chance to get another World Series, to now being like, what the just happened?
Yeah, no, they're like a pinball machine, and
Yeah.
I feel like that
Yeah.
just describes the whole city of Chicago at this point, like
Yeah.
with what's going on in sports. So hopefully they continue to be hardball, and if they sign Josh Giddey for this contract, I'm content. Especially with the length of this contract, considering
Yeah.
we know the salary cap increases every damn
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
like, maybe year one it might be like, oh damn, like okay, maybe this contract is like but once we get to year 2 and 3 of this contract, it's gonna be like, wow, like this is a great deal for the production that he's putting up starting at point guard.
Well, let's continue on how they're selling hope to Chicago Bulls fans. Another rumor that is popping up now is that supposedly the Chicago Bulls are just waiting around to see if the New Orleans Pelicans are going to try to blow things up with their roster. And obviously the biggest name that Bulls fans are hearing is that the Bulls are interested in Zion Williamson. Now, they've also included that they'll also be willing to make a trade for Trey Murphy III, and I believe it's one more player from the Pelicans, that they're Herbert Jones, that they're also interested in. Obviously, all of these guys play similar positions. They're all kind of like forward, small forward, hybrid, power forward type of players, obviously, right? And so that lets me know, one, if that is true, let's say that this has some merit to it. That clearly means that Patrick Williams is obviously a player that they are desperately trying to get rid of in his contract. I don't know if that's because they're trying to make space to sign a Josh Giddey to a bad contract, or if they just want to remove that money off of their books so that they can find themselves in a better space come free agency for 2026, 2027, and on down the line. Now, there has been things percolating for years now that when Zion was, what year did Zion get drafted? Was that 2020? What was that? 2020, 2019, 2021? One of those years.
Yeah.
We'll research that
I'll
at
fact
another.
check.
Yeah, but it was rumored then that the Chicago Bulls really wanted Zion. Like, we really, 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 really wanted Zion.
2019.
Okay. We really, really wanted him that year. And I know this personally because as I was thinking about buying season tickets for the Bulls, the literal thing that they were trying to use as like a promotional tool to try to get you to buy the season tickets was the Bulls want Zion. And if all things fall in place, the ping pong balls will fall for us to get the number 1 pick, and we'll have Zion in the building. And that's why you should lock in your season tickets early, blah, blah, blah. And this was back then, right?
Yeah.
So there has always been a dire desire, right, to get Zion in Chicago, or wanting Zion in Chicago. If there was a time to trade for Zion, this would be right up the Bulls. This would be right up the Bulls' alley, right? An asset that is depreciated in this market, depreciated for that franchise, has had some tumultuous situations with that franchise, and you're hoping that you can come in and kind of buy low, send over some assets that may still have some, ceiling to them, Maybe it just didn't work out here, but it can work out there. All those type of things, right? And maybe you can throw in maybe one first round pick and maybe a couple seconds. So this is right up the Bulls' alley. They hope that they can swing a deal like a Zion Williamson and maybe a Dalen Terry mixed in with like the Portland 2026 first round pick or whatever, and maybe a couple seconds.
Maybe Io.
I'm hoping that you can get the deal done without Io in it. But it might take that, but I doubt it. I think you can figure out ways to do it. But with that being said, should the Bulls even try to target Zion? With everything that we know about Zion, with the Bulls' history of dealing with young stars in a terrible way, with the Bulls' history of dealing with players who have been injured in a terrible way, as much as Zion can still be box office, as much as the Bulls need a star, some type of leverage to be able to get back into primetime television, because we only have 3 games this season.
Yeah, we're tied for the second lowest.
In a market like Chicago. The NBA is basically saying, we don't care about you guys. Like, we know that y'all are a big market, but y'all are so bad, and we have so little faith in the Chicago Bulls product that we do not want to waste advertisement deals, commercial deals on a Chicago Bulls telecasted game. That's insane. This is a franchise that when Michael Jordan was around, NBC wouldn't even have a basketball game if it wasn't Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls playing. They literally created a sports division just so they could highlight Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. We literally owned NBC. Now, we didn't own it, but we owned it. It was pretty much tailor-made for us. So, is this something that we should do?
Me personally, like, if I was in AK's shoes, I'm not doing it. Like, at this point, if you're so committed to a rebuild / developing your young players that you do have, this doesn't make sense, because then you'd have to be shipping off some of your younger assets, maybe like a Dalen Terry and
obviously Patrick Williams. He's in there.
Patrick Williams, and it's like, we know they don't like to trade picks in the first place, and honestly, at this point, I don't know if I would want to either, but seeing how this front office drafts, I don't know if it would be a bad thing, to be honest. I'm sure New Orleans would make better use of the pick than we would. But I don't know. Like, I don't think this is the star you pull the trigger on. Like, there's just been so much inconsistency with Zion, and maybe he does need a new place. I do think that's one of the things.
I mean, he could be another Luka.
For him to blossom. Maybe he does need a new place, right? But for two, like I guess like on a not serious note, like I don't trust him around deep dish. Like, you can't put, bro, he couldn't handle being around Cajun food. How are you gonna put him in front of deep dish? You know what I mean? Like, and all these other
I was gonna say Chicago is rated one of the better cities in all of North America, in all of the United States, and even around the world. Actually, we're rated one of the best cities for food globally. And I think this is
that
could be a match made. That could be a match made in heaven for a stomach. But it could be a match made in hell for basketball business. Having Zion in Chicago. I get what you're saying.
Now to keep it on the basketball point of view, like I just don't think bringing in Zion and having Billy Donovan, by the way, just signed that contract extension. I don't think that's a player that fits well into Billy Donovan's system. Now, granted, they've been trying to get up, more up pace and up tempo, and
unless Zion is your point guard.
At that point, like, I don't think that would be necessary. Like, what you would need from Zion, and you would need absolutely certainty from it, is that he drops a whole bunch of weight. Like, so he could get up and down the floor like he did in Duke, like he did in high school, like even his first year.
So let me ask you this. Let's just have a little fun.
Okay.
If he drops weight, let's say we can commit to him. Let's say he commits to coming to Chicago, being in a big market. He never wanted to be in New Orleans. He wants to be somewhere where he can be a star. New York, Chicago sounds good to him. He comes here, he drops the weight. He's willing to play point guard. You move in Josh Giddey. Maybe you move Josh Giddey to Golden State or somewhere. All these rumors. You move off of Josh Giddey and you're able to get some things. What do you make of a Zion Williamson led team where he is the point guard?
Or I guess call it like the offensive hub.
No,
Maybe.
no, he's the point guard. I mean, we got Josh Giddey at 6'9", 6'8",
but
running point guard.
Zion never played a day of point guard in
He
his
did
life.
in high school and at the beginning of Duke. They would let him bring the ball up, but he obviously had a.
That's what every NBA athlete does at the high school level, though.
No, that's true. That's true. But he did it a little bit in college as well. What I'm saying is that he actually has capabilities.
Okay.
So I'm not going. I don't want to downplay it like he doesn't have the capability. I get what you're saying though. Like damn near every NBA player at some point handled the basketball. Like even Shaq damn near thought he could be a point guard too. So I get what you're saying. But Zion actually has a background and history of like being a guard and running the point before he actually sprouted and became tall, similar to Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, let's say Zion is committed to that. Are you willing to bring Zion on to do something like that as your point guard? You got Kobe, you got Modest, you got Noah Essengay, and obviously you got to figure out what you do with Vooch at some point in time. But let's say that's your lineup. You got Zion, Kobe, Modest, Noah Essengay, Vooch. If you're the Bulls, do you think that gets you back on some TV? Does that get you back on ESPN?
Absolutely, it does. And like I'd do it tomorrow, like if I could, because if you could genuinely get a more fit Zion, which we know if he'd be more fit, he'd stay on the court because he'd be more healthy, right?
Yes.
So if he was eating the right foods, if he dropped away and released some of that pressure off of his cankles, then he'll be back to playing like Duke Zion. You know what I mean? So, and Duke Zion was one of the scariest players you could match up with at that time.
Dominant.
That's what I'm saying.
And when he first came in the league, he was so efficient and dominant.
That too. Like it was scary what we saw in his rookie season. Like, oh my God, like what could he possibly become?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like I said, if you could get him committed on some diet plan and have him doing all the right things and even having him bring the ball up, like I've seen him make the ball as well. Like he's a smart basketball player, and we actually haven't been able to see that in the role they're asking him to fill.
And imagine
in New
him
Orleans.
coming downhill off a pick and roll.
You can't stop that.
Oh
you won't be able to stop that.
Oh my God,
Coach,
Coach, that is scary.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I say tomorrow I do it.
Okay. So, final part of this. Do you actually think this is true that the Bulls are interested in Zion, or do you think this is just one of those, cock posh or whatever type of rumors that somebody is just putting out to try to permeate the internet with?
I mean, I feel like Zion has been a topic of interest for the Bulls for the past couple of seasons now.
Yeah.
So I'm not doubting that this rumor is true.
Will they pull? Does the Bulls have the balls to pull this off?
No. I mean, this could be the one season where they just feel so desperate to do so, considering, again, tied for second lowest in national televised games. Maybe this is the year that they finally grow a pair or just become so desperate that they just have to, shoot, maybe it's a blank round, but they have to shoot it anyways to try to fend off some of the heat, right? So maybe this is one of those situations, but deep down in my heart, my gut tells me that no, I don't think this deal gets done just because we're going to re-sign Josh Giddey. We're going to be content with this whole idea of Billy Donovan developing players like it's college or something, and we're going to stay mid for the next 10 years.
God damn it, you know how to kill hosts. But there's one more thing to be, I guess, hopeful about or happy about, but I kind of think I'm going to take a different angle on this because this just lends in more to how desperate the Bulls are. But let's talk about how our beloved Chicago native and Chicago hero, Derrick Rose, is going to be retired. His jersey is going to be retired on January 24th of 2026. I don't know who we're playing.
Boston Celtics.
Really?
On a Saturday. I checked the schedule because I was trying to see how much tickets are going for.
We're really going to retire his jersey against Boston?
I guess.
Why wouldn't we do it against New York?
I mean, maybe Boston because that was the first playoff series he's ever played in, and he balled out in that playoff series. Maybe that's the idea behind it.
I get that, but I mean, okay.
Regardless.
Yeah, that's the day that they're going to do
That's the reasoning I think went behind it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't agree with it either. Let's put that out there.
And it's on a Saturday. Like, I guess you want to make sure that you got the house packed. Maybe that's what it is.
Which it will be regardless.
Right. It would have been packed if it was on a Sunday.
It was packed for Derrick Rose night. Like, come on. I was there.
If the game was on a Sunday, people would have skipped church if they had to go see Derrick Rose jersey be retired. I don't know. Whatever, man. But I didn't know they were playing Boston. And I didn't know it was a Saturday, but okay. Okay, so I'm happy that he's getting his jersey retired. Let me just put that out there. I'm happy that it's happening. I believe that he deserves it. I know that there are some people who will probably be like, why is he getting his jersey retired? He didn't win shit for us. He didn't win a championship. We went to one Eastern Conference Finals berth, I think. And then from that point on, it was kind of like a downhill spiral from injuries, first round injuries, and blah, 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 blah. Some people feel like, obviously, this is happening because he's from Chicago. If he wasn't from Chicago, the Bulls wouldn't be trying to retire his jersey. I personally believe that this is a PR stunt, a public relations thing for the Chicago Bulls because they have lost so much fan favor, and that by doing this for Derek, it implants a little bit of goodwill in their Chicago base of fans to kind of be like, look, we know we suck. We know we're doing a terrible job. We know we keep messing things up. Every time you turn us on, you're more quick to turn us off than you are to actually keep watching. But come on.
But hey, guess what? 10 years ago, we had Derrick Rose.
Come on now. We did something right. Yeah. We drafted Derrick Rose. We drafted one of your own.
I don't care if it was a decade ago.
Yeah, we drafted one of your own. We drafted him straight out the backyard, brought him to you, and put him on the main floor for everybody to watch him grow and develop and blossom. So I think it's all public relations. Second to that, I think it's a money grab. Obviously, if people did the stats and the research, one of the biggest viewership games and one of the biggest attending games last season was Derrick Rose night. When we played the New York Knicks,
man,
it was packed all the way to the wall, all the way up to the third floor, to the concrete wall in the back, to the standing room, everywhere. It was just packed all the way through the United Center for Derrick Rose night, and it's going to be the same way for the jersey retirement. They're going to be able to sell tickets for whatever price that they want.
I already looked it up. Ticketmaster's got the very top of section 300, $385 for one ticket.
Yeah.
So. And it'll sell out.
Yeah, it's going to sell out. Yeah. And then there's going to be some people who already bought tickets, and then they're going to resell them at a much higher price.
Yeah, season ticket holders get that game included anyways.
Yeah, of course. You have to. Yeah. I'm a season ticket holder. I'd be damned.
Right.
If I'm a season ticket, if I don't get the tickets for that, you can have all these tickets back.
Yeah.
If that's the one that I got to have if I'm a season ticket holder. But to me, this doesn't feel like something that the Chicago Bulls want to do. It feels like it's something that they feel like they have to do. And that's how this has been feeling for me. Because prior to Derrick Rose announcing his retirement, we never really seen Derrick Rose with the Chicago Bulls doing anything since his departure. There had never really been any type of, very similar to how it is with Jordan, very similar to how it is with Jimmy. But anybody that's actually been great for the Chicago Bulls, maybe outside of, let's say, Scottie Pippen, who had a brief stint of being like a Chicago Bulls ambassador. Everybody else has been great, like a great for the Chicago Bulls. There hasn't really been any like linear communication throughout their career and post-career with the Chicago Bulls and being involved with this franchise. And it was the same way with Derrick once he got, traded. It wasn't too much like, oh, we're going to make sure we remember Derrick Rose and let's keep talking about D-Rose outside of Stacey King. But other than that, the Bulls wasn't really doing any type of public praising and a public appreciation year in and year out or every 2 to 3 years to just highlight their love for Derrick or anything like that. I don't even think they did tribute videos every time he came back to play. And half of the time, it was sometimes he didn't even want to play when he came to the United Center. Like when he was dealing with injuries, there was times where he had to be encouraged just to get on the floor because he wouldn't necessarily want to play. Because for me, it's obvious that there are certain things that have been left unsaid about the relationships of NBA superstars and their time with the Chicago Bulls if they've been here. If you were to have those closed doors conversations with those guys, they would have not the best things to say about how Reinsdorf and the Chicago Bulls do things when it comes down to how they treat their stars, how they look and view them, and what they try to make you do or ask of you. So for me, this doesn't feel like something that they want to do. It feels like something that they have to do. It feels like public relations. It feels like money grab. Let's sell these tickets at a high price. And maybe this might be on one of the games that gets viewed on TV. I'm not sure. It might be one of the ones that we get on TV.
One of the three.
So What are your thoughts? Does this feel like something that the Bulls want to do? Does it feel like it's something that they're just having to do for reasons outside of just being about Derrick Rose?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is something that they want to do because, of course, they have to preserve image. Of course, like how can you not retire the man's number? Like, granted, some people have their arguments about, oh, what did he actually do in Chicago? Like, yeah, he was the youngest MVP, but then what after that? What did he do?
Yeah.
I don't think people outside of Chicago understand how much he actually means to the city of Chicago.
No, they don't, and they're not going to.
They never will. So, like, that's always my reasoning. Like, you guys have no idea how much this man meant to us when he was playing, and still is. Like, he still means a boatload to the city. And it's the right thing. It's the right thing for it to happen. My thing is, like, they should have done it on Derrick Rose night. That was the perfect day to do it. But why they didn't do it, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough time to advertise it, kind of build up hype around it and stuff like that. Like,
and that goes back to my point about it being...
It definitely is a money grab. Absolutely. Like, I think regardless they were going to retire the jersey, but the fact that they split it up into two separate nights...
You do think regardless they were going to do it?
I do think so, yeah. But I think in an ideal world, if the Chicago Bulls was a normally functioning, healthy franchise, they would have just done it on Derrick Rose night. It would have been the ultimate nice final chapter of ending this man's career in a very high note, and, you know, dedicating the whole night to him, it being a whole special day in the city of Chicago, not just you know, for the Bulls, but the city itself. It's literally Derrick Rose Day.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we get a Derrick Rose Day officially in Chicago once all of this is over?
They already did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, like 1/4/25.
1/4/25.
Yeah, Mayor Brandon Johnson made it officially Derrick Rose Day.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
okay,
so like
every
day,
every January 4th.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be every January 4th. I think they just made that one specifically because the one for Chicago 4 and 25 when he was playing in other places.
Yeah,
so
25 was at Simeon. 4 I think was at
4 was in New York.
New York, yeah.
25 he also wore in Minnesota as well. So
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was the right thing to do, of course. Me personally, I wish they just did it in one night. I think it's very unnecessary doing it for two separate nights. It would have been just the ultimate climactic ending of a great, you know, the biggest what if, I think, in NBA history, you could call it, because, like, what if...
Oh, no, there's a lot of big what ifs. You got Brandon Roy.
I said one of the biggest.
Oh, okay.
Not the biggest.
I was going to say, because you got a lot of them.
Of course, you got Greg Oden, of course.
Greg Oden,
you know
Brandon Roy, Grant Hill. Shit,
you got a lot of them. You got a lot of them. But he's definitely up there with those guys. You know what I mean? So, I'm happy for Derrick. I don't know if I'll be in attendance because those ticket prices are crazy, but by the will of God, if I could save that money and get to that game, I'll be there.
No, you know what's gonna happen? We're gonna have these media passes before that game.
Hopefully,
and we're gonna get in on the media side. You know, halftime gonna be in the building as media. We're gonna be working. We're gonna be working that game.
You're gonna see me in section 100 at the Corona section.
Exactly. Really, we just gonna be fans who got in off a lick.
Yeah.
But yeah. I hope that obviously that night is gonna go well. I stick by my stance. I don't trust the Bulls. I think that they're doing this because it's something that they feel like they have to do. It's good PR. It's good money making. But I think if they wasn't in the position where they were such a piss poor franchise right now, I don't think they would be trying to retire his jersey, at least not right now. I think right now, though, it looks good for them to show this type of appreciation to Derrick and everything that he did, because I think it's well deserving, but I think the Bulls would have calculated to do this further down the line than they would have done it right now, because this is so hot right off of his retirement and everything like that. Like, it's almost like they're just trying to get, like, it's almost like they're trying to seize the moment. Let's squeeze as much as possible.
If they waited too long, then there'd be questions like, "Oh, what are you guys waiting on?"
Yeah. So it just kind of feels like that. But what you want to say?
Well, I'm ready to wrap this thing up, Coach.
You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, let's end it off with I appreciate you being here, Coach, and I'm glad you're doing better and being more healthy, and hopefully getting back to 100% soon. And
Yes, sir.
it's been a great episode 47. See, I told you I wouldn't forget. I do know what episode it is. The Bears are currently playing the Chiefs right now. I took a quick peek at the score. Last time I checked, it was 16-0 Chiefs. So not too great, but you know what? We'll look at the highlights. We'll look at the highlights. We'll look at the tape.
That is so funny,
and we will see.
That is so funny because literally we started this show off talking about how we really wanted to see what it would look like in week 3, and I was one of the people that held off saying anything because I knew we had already been playing Buffalo in training camp before we played them in that game, and I didn't want to be one of the ones that said things looked how they look because we basically been playing this team all week. But that's interesting. 16-0. I want to see how it started. I want to see what it looked like.
Yeah, that's what I'm intrigued to see.
Yeah.
But thank you all for tuning in to the Halftime Podcast. You guys know it's the best sports coverage on all digital platforms. You guys know where to find me on IG at Coach KDZ. You guys know where to find Coach Malcolm at Coach M_got it. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube page at the Halftime Pod. We are loving the support we're getting on all of the digital platforms, of course, as we are the best sports coverage on all digital platforms. I will say that with the most confidence because I truly believe that. So, once again, it's been Coach Conrad.
Been Coach Malcolm, and as always, you know how we log out. It's C-Red and bear down, baby.